And then it's PSG and Liverpool. And this is kind of the main part of this video that I wanted to talk about here. PSG obviously beat Liverpool last year. You get the feeling they're kind of like the two best sides in Europe at the time. PSG knocked Liverpool out and PSG go on to win that first Champions League. And you feel as if they're kicking into gear a little bit as well after watching them against Chelsea too. They can put teams to the sword. The front three is good. Again, it's like Yamal. There's a lot of freedom in those forward players. I think it could be a humping for Liverpool. And unbelievably, I don't even know if I want them to pull a rabbit out of the hat in this one. I don't see it happening. I really, really don't. And I wanted to hone in on one main thing. And I said this a while ago. I've said it a couple of times this season. First of all, just about the players. I remember, I think in any time period where you've been successful, you typically don't see a lot of posts on social media about, you know, cars they're driving or trips or watches or shoes or whatever it may be. I think we all know in social media that gives off a certain persona, a certain perspective on someone, which, by the way, isn't always right, and you're allowed to post whatever you want, and you're a human being, and you can flex about everything and do all that. I don't want to use this and keep harping on back to this as a Liverpool fan, because we need to move on, and I have moved on, but I'm just thinking about the principles was, under Jurgen Klopp, I used to remember always saying to my mates, all you ever see Liverpool post on social media is training pictures. It's just training pictures. It's clearly just training pictures. There might be the odd one here or there, but obviously when you're winning, that helps putting those posts up. But I've noticed a lot this season, and just after we've won the league, there's a lot of posts, those kind of fashionable type posts. And I think especially when you're losing football matches and the majority of your fan base and the cusp of your fan base, especially in a city like Liverpool, and John Gibbons said this absolutely perfectly and exceptionally on the Anfield Wrap. You should go check out the clip. It's definitely on their Twitter. I'm sure they'll probably put it up on their Instagram as well. Just in the city of Liverpool, you know, you've just been beat. If you take, for example, Szoboszlai, and you kind of post a picture of your really nice watch and something that you probably will never earn in a lifetime, or, you know, take you a few years to earn that type of money on a watch. And look, he's allowed to go do that, and he's been really good this season, but there's a big disconnect now from what Liverpool and the players are, and they were talking about that in the Anfield Wrap, about how not a lot of them live in the city now, and they kind of travel in and out, and it's like they kind of just show up for the games and then they leave, and there's been a lot of time off, and there's been those talkings with Arne Slot. And yeah, I compare it again to Erik ten Hag's Manchester United. I remember, like, United would randomly show up for a couple of games, and not even necessarily against the best teams, but let's just take, like, I don't know, like Fulham and Brighton, for example, and Garnacho bags a couple in those games, and he's doing those celebrations where he's sitting and he's posting on social media in his cars, and it's like, yeah, but mate, we all know you're about to go on like a 5-loss streak, and you're not putting the work in. There's no working back. You don't look like a team. You look like you're in it just for those flashy moments, those kind of those kind of social media clippable moments, postable moments. And unfortunately, this Liverpool side feels as if it's kind of drifted that way a lot. And for me, that's leadership from the management, right? That is leadership from the management, because we've seen, I know the core crux of that kind of last 10 years is kind of fading out now, like Salah and Van Dijk and Alisson, and Henderson's gone to Milner, and I'm actually looking at the canvas in front of me with all those players that won that first league title. It's just, it's not good. And I think Slot too, one thing that Liverpool didn't take into account when they hired him was the flip side to him having won so many games. I had a look. I think Arne Slot has only actually lost, I'll have a look right here for you guys. Give me a second. In total right now, so bear in mind he's lost a good few this season. In total, in 314 games, he's lost 60. And God, there must be at least about 20 of those this season, if not more, a couple towards the end of last season too. So he's new in management, and he's won a lot of games. And that's great. And you look at that, and fair play to you, and that's credit to you as a coach. Look at that, you're building winning teams here, mate. You're not losing a lot. But the only flip side to that is, what are you like when you start to lose? And I always say that, being a coach myself, especially, I know youth football's not the same, but I always want to see what are you like when the going gets tough. And I remember the start of the season, we got through those games and saying that's what champions do and everything. And then when it started to get a bit patchy, I was just like, that's cool. Let's see what you've got, mate. I'm intrigued to see what you've got. And from that point onwards, really, you've shown me that you don't know how to handle it. You've shown me you don't have the tools in the box to get the wins back on board, keep the culture in place. I think the players are being allowed to kind of run around a little bit and do what they want. And it all just seems a bit calm and cool and just kind of blasé. And that's the kind of persona that Slot gives off. And I think that that's been the biggest thing, is disconnect. I think he's not quite connected with the fans, although the day he gave us last season, again, will go down as one of the greatest days I've ever had in my life with my brother down there in Liverpool. And obviously winning the league title, and that's no easy feat. And that's amazing. And you've got to be a good coach to win that. You absolutely do. But when the chips are down and the going gets tough, who are you? And I'll say the same about, you know, you get these new manager bounces like Liam Rosenior. Everyone's like, oh, look at this guy. Chelsea coming in playing from Strasbourg. Now he's starting to lose, and now we're starting to see battles like Enzo Fernandez. And all these things coming to part. Michael Carrick will be the same if he goes through a bad run. And it's all about who are you and can you get through that patch. And I just don't think Arne Slot has the tools in his coaching box to be able to get us out of this situation. I think there's like loads of different types of situations you could be in that he could get you out of. Maybe a playing way if it's something to do with how we're playing and everything. But in terms of just like having a bit more about you, putting the work in, reeling people in, giving them a rocket up their arse, I don't think that's who he is. He's been brought in to keep Liverpool at the top, so I can see why they've gone in and hired him with winning, and we're like, right, we'll maintain it. But I don't think there's been a thought process of, right, but how is he going to be when he loses here? How is he going to be? You know, if you look at Jurgen Klopp, I want to have a look at those stats, which is really interesting. Obviously, he's managed a hell more games than Arne Slot has, but in 1,078 games, he lost 244, right? And he started off at Mainz, and he was a player at Mainz, and then he goes into coach Mainz, and he's fighting relegation and promotion and all those things. So he's learning how to lose. Goes to Dortmund. You're not maybe the top dog. You're trying to take on Bayern Munich, which, you know, impossible at the time. Sir Alex Ferguson, even at Aberdeen, trying to take the old firm on, right? You're trying to turn a culture of like losers into winners. And even at Man United when he goes, and it doesn't go extremely well for him to begin with. We all know that, but he's battling against losing. He's learning what to do when he's losing, and does this work, does that work? Okay, this does, this doesn't. And this day and age at Liverpool, when you've come in where they are, mate, and they're at the top of the tree, you're just not going to get the time. You're just not going to get it, absolutely. And any football club this day and age, unfortunately, you know, the time to embed a philosophy it's a load of rubbish, it's a load of bullshit. You will, if you're losing football matches, you're going to be out the door, and the fans aren't going to like you, and the players aren't going to believe you. It's all about winning. That's the big thing I started this off at. Football is about winning, and I just don't think he's the man to do it. So let's see how Liverpool do against PSG. Drop your thoughts in the comments with what you think is going to happen in all these games. Liverpool fans especially, drop your thoughts about that, what I've just said with Arne Slot and everything.